Good morning. This is Mark Lefebvre from the Stearns County Soil and Water Conservation District with this week's conservation report. And today I'd like to talk about cover crops a little bit, as well as carbon and water quality credits. So to start with, the cover crops, our staff and myself have talked about cover crops a lot recently, but in general, cover crops are planted between the cash crop that's grown to help achieve various different things like reduce erosion from wind and water, minimize soil compaction, improve soil moisture efficiency, suppress weeds or break pest cycles, increase soil health and organic matter, and reduce water quality degradation by utilizing excess soil nutrients. So in the past week, last week especially, there was a lot of wind erosion, and I'm sure a lot of people have saw that. Especially in my neighborhood, I noticed a lot of wind erosion, and I could see the difference between fields that were even right next to each other that were not blowing, that had a cover crop established on, especially a rye cover crop, possibly after potatoes in my neighborhood. The wind just doesn't get that sand loose and start blowing it, and it really does a good job of holding that soil. The SWCD is planning to put up some field signs for cover crop fields that are enrolled in some of our programs. So as you're driving around, look for these, especially fields like right now that were planted to cereal rye. They are really looking green, and you can notice those, and hopefully we can get some signage up to help people identify those as they're traveling around the county. The next thing I'd like to talk about is carbon and water quality credits. I talked about this a couple months ago, but we have some updates that I'd like to share. So right now, there are lots of companies offering farmers multi-year contracts to sign up acres to sell credits, such as Indigo Ag, True Carbon from Land O'Lakes, and Bayer has a carbon crediting, among others. So the Stearns County SWCD is partnering with Ecosystem Services Market Consortium, or ESMC, on a pilot project. And the project will test and streamline the creation and sale of environmental credits from farmland for carbon, water quality, and water quantity. This first-of-its-kind pilot in Minnesota will provide financial incentives to encourage more farmers to implement practices that help improve soil health, store carbon in the soil, and reduce nutrient runoff from farm fields. This is a unique concept that I think we are fortunate to be a part of because it's very cutting edge and could bring some financial benefits to farmers who enroll and agree to adopt practices like no-till and cover crops. So the main update from the last time I talked about this on CHASM is that farmers must agree to adopt new conservation practices to generate a credit, which they're calling additionality. So if a farmer has been no-tilling or using cover crops for several years, they actually wouldn't be eligible to generate a credit under this scenario. So since there aren't buyers of the credits yet for this ESMC project, farmers can enroll if they're planning to make some practice changes and not be tied to a long-term contract at least until 2022, when credits will be offered. At that time, they can decide to sell any credits generated or opt to sell to another company like Indigo Ag. Project partners will work with farmers and a number of ag businesses to test ESMC's market protocols on 50,000 acres that have corn and soybean cropping systems with a heavy dairy or livestock component. ESMC's program will quantify, verify, and certify the ecosystem service benefits of improved nutrient management, soil health, and edge-of-field best management practices. So to start with, soil samples for soil organic carbon, bulk density, pH, and phosphorus will be analyzed in the first year, and again after 5 years to measure actual changes. In the interim, soil quality and carbon sequestration will be measured using ESMC's protocols. So you just put that management information into their online portal, and then that will determine if there's credits that are generated. The overall strategy of this pilot is to leverage existing cost share and technical assistance funding tools to enroll farmers in the pilot to discover cost efficiencies and ensure the accuracy of this ESMC platform. So I'd like to list off the 6 goals of the project, and number 1 is to help launch a fully functional national-scale ecosystem services market conceived and designed to sell both carbon and water quality and quantity credits for the agriculture sector by 2022. And number 2 would be to leverage existing funding and incentives for ag best management practices and farmer outreach to test and improve the ESMC protocols for defining the carbon, water quality, and water quantity ecosystem service credits of the implemented practices, mainly cover crops and reduced tillage, with a focus on voluntary carbon credits and regulatory water quality credits. Number 3 is to help create a sustainable market driver that can potentially be integrated with existing public and proprietary sustainable ag decision tools like Field to Market, the Minnesota Ag Water Quality Certification Assessment, Land O'Lakes' Truterra platform, or Syngenta's LandDB, and others to assess if data gaps exist between what the tools currently collect and what ESMC needs to credit measurement. And number 4 is to investigate and quantify what the potential effect of different crop rotations and soil amendments like manure have on generating soil health and the corresponding ecosystem service benefits. Number 5 is to demonstrate how ESMC's protocols can be used to generate additional income from edge of field and working grassland acres like buffers, grass waterways, grasslands, and even pastures. And finally, to demonstrate how to connect and recruit agricultural supply chain partners to priority watersheds and geographies that offer the biggest return on investment for improving water quality, water quantity issues, and mitigating greenhouse gases. This pilot currently does not have a supply chain partner, like I said, committed to purchasing or sponsoring the credits that the project would generate, and our plan is to recruit one and upfront to guarantee farmers a minimum price for their carbon or put the credits on the marketplace in 2022. And again, this is a new project, and it's a pilot, so we will be learning along with the farmers that enroll. So if you have questions or are interested in enrolling, you can call our office at 320-251-7800. This is Mark Lefebvre from the Stearns County Soil and Water Conservation District with your conservation report, and thanks for listening this morning.